What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you've been utterly traumatized by someone and there's nothing really that you can do about it? You just had to take it on the chin and deal with it, and it's been a horrible experience. Well, thankfully, TraumatizeThemBack is a phenomenal subreddit in which people who have been traumatized manage to get their revenge. They get justice, they get karma, and it's beautiful to see. Today's first story sums this subreddit up, I think, in the perfect way. One of the worst substitute teachers I've ever heard of, acting in such a terrible way towards one poor student, but thankfully, this time, she receives some brilliant karma. Ignore my medical issues and I get angry. When I was in high school, my doctor accidentally let slip that I'd been formally diagnosed with ADHD 4 years beforehand. My parents hadn't wanted me to use it as a crutch, so they just hadn't told me. I was furious and I immediately pressed to start medication and get education accommodations. My parents sort of sheepishly agreed to everything I asked for, and I started doing well for the first time ever. This is all background info. Well, I've got to say off the bat, that is some of the worst parenting I've ever heard. What on earth? Anyway, we moved and I was taking a freshman science class in my sophomore year because my old school had done what was effectively the sophomore science in my freshman year. I'm the 16-year-old new kid doing standardized testing with a classroom of freshmen I don't know super well. And suddenly, I have to go to the bathroom. My education accommodations allowed for bathroom breaks whenever because the medication I was on at the time included fun side effects like bladder control issues. I raised my hand and I asked the substitute teacher who was acting as our test proctor while our normal science teacher was on vacation. And she laughed at me. She said she wasn't born yesterday and no amount of accommodations would convince her to let me leave the classroom during standardized testing because I might meet up with a friend who had answers to the tests or something. I tried to argue with her and I got increasingly more desperate as I explained in hushed whispers what my medication did and its side effects. She continued chuckling and shaking her head with this stupid, bemused smile. I started crying before, wouldn't you know it, I peed myself. Honestly, the next bits are a blur. I remember the smile slowly falling off her face, and then suddenly I was in the nurse's office wearing gym clothes and listening to my parents scream at the principal in 2 different languages. My parents agreed not to sue if that substitute was fired. She wasn't able to get a job at another school in the area, and the district apparently brought separate charges against her for ignoring accommodations. She had to pay a steep fine. Now, thankfully, some popular kids decided that anyone who made fun of me about this wouldn't be invited to the cool kid house parties, so I was only teased a little bit. I still wasn't popular in high school, but at least my parents became somewhat more supportive of me and my educational needs as a result. I hope that lady enjoys her unemployment as much as I enjoyed watching someone sign my yearbook a few years later to P-Girl. Okay, well, at least your parents eventually did something that constituted good parenting, but I hope they realized their errors in the first place of not telling you about a serious medical condition that you have that obviously is going to impact your ability to learn. Maybe this happened a long time ago when things like ADHD weren't as understood or accepted, but if it didn't and they genuinely didn't want you to use it as a crutch and just learn to live with it, I guess, despite knowing the impact it can have on you, or it does have on you day to day, then that is awful. But yeah, okay, maybe they've now changed their ways, and as we can see by the end, they do care about you. I mean, yeah, just that first paragraph was shocking to me. Now, as for the teacher, I mean, yeah, she's just a complete write-off. What a horrible woman. To actually laugh at you while you are telling her, no, I promise you, this is not me trying to cheat or get out of the test or anything like that. Look at my docs. I mean, surely she has them on her system or something. Look at them. I'm on this medication because of my condition. Like, how can somebody who's a teacher laugh at you in that spot? It's just ridiculous. It's a good thing they got rid of her, no doubt about that. It's a shame that you didn't get the money though, as you know, you didn't sue, and she was forced to pay a fine to I don't know, the school, the district, whatever, not you. I feel like you deserve some compensation for such a horrible thing, and fair play to the kids as well for not bullying you about this. It would be very easy to do so. Not saying that they should, but I mean, if bullies are looking for a reason to bully, that's a pretty good one. So fair play to the kids for not doing that. But yeah, I'm sure this moment is going to stay with you and be pretty traumatic for your life. And yeah, I can't imagine what being in school and everyone knowing that you've gone through that would be like. Now for our second story. This one is brilliant. Steal my mail, have fun thinking you're cursed. I hadn't thought of this in years until my daughter brought it up and suggested I post it here. I'm looking behind us now, across the count of time, down the long hall into history back in the before times, in the long ago. 2020, I'm talking about 2020. At the time, I was living in the Midwest and my daughter was living in the Pacific Northwest. She'd started getting into haunted dolls, and when lockdown happened, she picked up customizing porcelain dolls to keep herself occupied. I sent her a few old dolls I'd found at thrift shops, but when I called her to see what she was going to do with them, she told me she never got the package. That's when she told me that porch piracy had become a huge problem in the town. She said that it had always been an issue, but since lockdown had started, they'd gotten beyond blatant, and it was an almost guaranteed chance that you wouldn't get your packages unless the mail person directly handed it to you. It got to the point that the thieves would literally follow the mail truck and would be walking up to the porch to steal packages as the mail person was walking back to the sidewalk. This, as you can imagine, annoyed me on a personal level. If I was going to spend my own money sending something to my daughter for her to customize, I dang well wanted her to get it, not some random mook off the street. I told her I'd think about it and get back to her, as there was a doll I'd found that I thought would be perfect for a horror customization. Plus, I wanted to support my daughter with her art, so I wanted to commission this doll specifically. The other important factors that contributed to this situation are that I'm pagan. I love ancient fictional languages, and I absolutely love being able to screw with people that deserve it. I spent a few weeks mulling the situation over in the back of my mind, and I eventually hit on a solution that borrowed heavily from the satanic panic, which I'd lived through as a kid. Since I wasn't sure that she would actually get the package, I decided to send a backup doll that I'd found and planned on sending with the original doll, just in case the original doll got messed up in a way that couldn't be fixed. The doll had a cracked face, was missing an eye, had a faded, stained blue silk dress, and the hair was a snarled mess. I found a shoebox that fit the doll with a little room to spare, and I got to work. Everything I wrote is approximated because I was an idiot and didn't take a picture before I mailed the box off. Stupid of me. Oh, that is a shame. I would have loved to see this. Anyway, first I aged some printer paper with coffee, crumpled it up until it was soft, then cut out 6 squarish pieces. I created 2 sigils and drew them on 2 of the pieces. One small one where the sigil took up most of the paper, and one larger one where the sigil was in the center but had plenty of room around it to write other stuff. The sigils were based on the phrase "F off thief" and "This is not yours." I also used a Gallifreyan translator app and created a symbol that translated into "May you perpetually step on Legos barefoot in the dark." Now I believe that Gallifrey is the language used in Doctor Who. The 4th and 5th pieces of paper had random symbols drawn on them, including alchemical, astrological, symbols from some 70s metal albums, Led Zeppelin in specific, and random shapes that I doodled. The last one I used a Klingon translator and wrote out "F you effing F," both phonetically and in the actual Klingon alphabet in a spiral that filled up the entire piece. I took the larger piece with the "Not Yours" sigil in the middle and wrote phrases cursing them unto the 100th generation, accused them of preferring goats as sexual partners, etc. in Norse runes, angelic script, and 2 other languages I don't remember off the top of my head. Then I burned some of the edges and some small spots throughout the papers. God, imagine being a thief and looking at that, being like, oh my god, what have I done? Once I was done with that, I rolled the largest piece into a tube, tied it with black and red ribbons, used wax to seal it, and tied it to the doll's hands over her chest with black twine. I then wrapped 4 of the pieces around the arms and legs of the doll, and I sealed them with wax, and stuck the last piece, the small sigil, over her face. I used a pentacle wax seal stamp to stick it to her forehead. I wrapped the doll in some ancient tissue paper that I found in my basement, and I put it in the shoebox. I added several red, black, grey and green quartz crystals, as well as some pinches of dried herbs and flowers from my altar supplies. I finished the whole thing off with a short note written on torn notebook paper that essentially said that I was grateful to get this cursed thing off of my hands, that I tried to seal the evil spirit possessing the doll as best I could, but I didn't guarantee it would work, and that it was the buyer's problem now. No refunds, no returns, and if the buyer died, it wasn't my fault. I went absolutely cheesy 80s horror movie with the note. It was completely histrionic and overblown. I figured that anyone sensible would think that this was a prank or a prop or some I'm so dark and spooky teenager trying too hard to be dark and spooky, but mostly I wanted to make my daughter laugh, or at least momentarily freak out whomever stole the box. Admittedly, I'd picked up this doll because it struck me as looking rather creepy to begin with, so all the set dressing fit the doll well. I wrapped the box in duct tape, then in brown grocery bag paper, added some more random symbols on the seams, and I mailed it off to my daughter. The aftermath. She said that she got the notification that the doll had gotten delivered, but that when she went to retrieve it, nothing was there. A few hours later, she was sitting in the living room when she heard a loud thump against the door and heard the sound of a vehicle speeding off down the hill. When she opened the door, she found a ripped open and hastily retaped box containing only two things: the doll, buried in what looked like 2 full canisters of molten salt. She thought that was odd, but forgot to ask about the salt when she texted me to let me know the doll had actually made it. We were talking about the doll last year when she asked me why I'd sent it in salt. I asked her what she was talking about, and after she described how the doll arrived, I told her how I'd actually packaged it up. She was kind of bummed that she didn't get to see it in all its ridiculous glory, but mentioned that they haven't had a problem with porch pirates since then. So I guess the local porch pirates were so terrified of the curse that they might have unleashed on themselves that they've avoided this area since then. I genuinely thought the whole thing was so over the top and cheesy, it would be obvious it was fake. But whomever stole it the first time was so terrified that they had to drown the doll in salt to break the curse. I genuinely hope they step on Legos barefoot to this day. Well, there we go. I think that is the perfect story for this subreddit. Just absolutely genius. I'm kind of getting Mark Rober porch pirate vibes from this. But if anything, this is a level above, because that, yes, it did put their face out there. And, you know, they obviously got covered in glitter and sparkles and stuff. But this is like genuinely people might be thinking here, these thieves, that they are cursed. And the fact that they've had to pour salt on the doll to try and, yeah, whatever, break the curse or whatever, is ridiculous. I mean, yeah, you can scare someone, or you can scare someone for the rest of their life thinking they're cursed. I think there are levels to this game. Crazy stuff. Brilliant. All I can say is it's absolutely brilliant. I feel like the only way you can level this up now even further is somehow find out who that thief was. I don't know if that's possible, but just really try. I mean, really try. Find out where they live, then go and put the doll back on their doorstep with another random note saying like, no, this is your doll now. You are cursed forever. And that will ensure that they truly are cursed, I guess, in their mind, right? Thinking about this for the rest of eternity. I think you just have to go that one step further if possible. Okay, now moving on to our third post from r/TraumatizeThemBack. No, I will not be watching that. Thanks. A few years back, when I worked at a fairly large grocery store, there was this stint when the same co-worker would find me during my break and whittle away my already precious 15 minutes talking about whatever TV show she was obsessed with at the time. Now, I'm not great at watching the shows I actually want to watch, but I'm equally bad at telling people no, so often our talks would end with her insisting I watch whatever show I'd already forgotten the name of, and me sheepishly answering, I'll put it on the list. Then, for like the space of a month, she got a bug up her butt about one show in particular, 13 Reasons Why. Now, most probably know what that is, but quick summary for those who lived under rocks like myself: a teenage girl uses her graphically depicted unaliving to get revenge on the people that hurt her in life. For the first time, I told her, no, not my type of show, which seemed to be her sleeper agent activation, dedicated solely to making me watch this freaking show. Every day she'd bring it up, and we'd have the exact same conversation. I would ask what it was again, because I exercised it from my mind after the last conversation. She excitedly recounts the show, and I tell her, no, still not interested, in increasingly firm ways. Finally, I get tired of this game one day, and I cut her off in the middle of explaining the show for the millionth time. I put on my most chipper tone, and I let loose. Oh my god, you know, you love this stuff so much. I should totally tell you about how I tried to unalive myself last year. It's got all the stuff you love. Assault, unaliving, abuse that I still go to therapy for. Oh, but I didn't try to unalive myself in a cool teen drama kind of way. I just tried to step in front of a train. Oh, I can tell you exactly what it feels like the moment you make the decision to end your life though. That's what you want, right? The more I went on, the paler she got, trying to cut in since I was being loud and pretty much the whole break room could hear. She tried to apologize and act sympathetic to my pain, but I just kept going, giving more and more of the worst details until my break alarm went off. Oh, gotta get going. Thanks for the show, Rec, but I don't think I'm gonna watch. Bye. Shockingly, she stopped talking to me after that, and I finally got to enjoy my breaks. Okay, don't get me wrong. I feel like if I watch a good show and there's nothing sort of massively triggering in it, and I really want someone to watch it, whether it be a colleague or a friend or whatever, I will say, have you started watching that yet? It's really, really good. Trust me. Have you watched it yet? Now, hopefully I wouldn't get annoying with that, but I would keep saying it, you know, at least a couple of times, just to give someone a reminder if I thought they were really going to like it. Now, the difference is here with 13 Reasons Why, and I haven't watched it, I'm going to be honest, but I do know what it's about. That is a show that you probably wouldn't push onto somebody again and again and again. And I think after hearing, no, not my type of show, when you first explain it to somebody, you then probably wouldn't do it again. Now, I'm not saying that she should have known that you had this happen to you before, or you were in this sort of situation, but I feel like you probably get some sort of hint from someone saying, no, not my type of show, when it's a show about someone that has unalived themselves. Even still, like, even if it's not about them and they've had a history with this, if they just don't like that sort of stuff, then I feel like you back away after that one. But no, she just kept going and going and going. And the only way to stop her was saying what you said. By the way, what I'm saying is, like, if I recommended a movie to somebody and they said, oh yeah, I'll watch it, then I might ask them again in future. Oh, have you watched it, by the way? You really should if you haven't. If they said, no, I'm not going to watch that one, not my sort of movie, I would never recommend it again. That would just be weird, especially when it's a topic like this. Now for our final Traumatize Them Back post of this one. Want to accuse me of stealing? I'll make you look bad too. On Thursday, I found out I likely have thyroid cancer. While pretty treatable, and I'm sure I'll be fine, I've already survived cancer twice, and hearing that word again has been difficult, to say the least. After my terrible day, I decided to go to a local gas station and buy a trashy pizza and some snacks to hang out in the local park. I had to use the bathroom, waiting for the woman who was in the bathroom. Immediately after I closed the door, she started yelling at me through the door that she'd left her dollar. It took me a second to realize she was talking to me, but when I did, I yelled back to her that I didn't see it, but I'd be out in a minute. I finished up my business, and honestly, I'd planned to just give her the dollar if she couldn't find it, as I just happened to have a dollar on me. I don't usually carry cash, and she seemed somewhat frantic, like she needed it for a purchase. That was until she came out and started yelling at me that I stole her dollar, and how dare I steal a dollar from a homeless person. Honestly, thinking it was probably a scam, I didn't have the energy to deal with her, and I thought it was best to not interact. She continued to yell for a few minutes before huffing and puffing to the front. Someone helped her purchase whatever item it was she wanted, as she talked trash about me to everyone there. As she was leaving, she turned back to me. I was now waiting in line, and started yelling, "You're seriously gonna steal from a homeless woman?" Honestly, she seemed in a kind of rough place, so I probably shouldn't have, and I definitely wouldn't have usually, but I was at the end of my rope. So I snapped back, looking her dead in the eyes, and replied, "And you're going to harass a woman with cancer over something she didn't do?" Everyone got really silent after that, and she puffed out. Yeah, I might be a bit of a jerk for that one, but honestly, it felt good for a sec. No, you're not the jerk here at all, OP, in my opinion. I think you're completely within your bounds to say something like this. You know, if you're getting abused by some like rando, and they're accusing you of stuff that you haven't done, you can do it back to them when it's actually legit. It is. So yeah, respect, and well done for not letting her just get away with this and not giving her a dollar. I mean, I don't really know what her intentions were. It does seem as though it might have been a scam. Who really knows? Just a confusing situation all around, but I think you dealt with it perfectly fine. That's the thing, like, if nobody pulls her up on this, then she's never going to learn to be self-aware, right? And it takes someone like you saying something like that to hopefully make her change her ways and not do this thing anymore. I don't really know what it is. So yeah, good on you. Do it more, I say. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on this subreddit and these 4 posts down below. Which one did you enjoy the most? I'm trying to work out exactly what stories you guys like more than others. So if you can let me know, comments down below, some feedback on whatever platform you're on, I'd be very grateful, and I'll catch you all on the next one.